Hey guys, this is Fiji Rated, Fuji on a Budget, and I'm talking to you today about a trip that I took a few months ago to the Moon Palace. And I wanted to come on here and talk about things that I wish that I knew before I booked the trip. I love to take my son places to give him experiences that I didn't have growing up. So I decided, hey, why not splurge? Let's go to the Grand if we're going to go and stay at the Moon Palace because they have three different areas. One is the Grand, one is Nazook, and the other one is Sunrise. And there are a few things that happened to us that I wish that even in my research that I was able to find so that I could maybe have prevented those missteps. But I'm here to try and help you out today. But when we got there, I was already exhausted. I was there with my son. We hadn't eaten in hours. I mean, a lot of hours. I don't mean like a few hours. I mean, it had been since the morning time and it was going on 4 p.m. In Mexico. And when I tell you that after we got checked in, they told us to go to a certain location out in front of the lobby, and we go to make this turn, and there was a guy standing there that was waiting to greet us, and I thought he was going to take us to the transportation that we needed. Turns out he was someone who took us over to his desk, started asking us questions about our stay and certain things that we liked and restaurants and pulling out maps. And I thought, wow, they are really pulling out the red carpet for this one. Turns out he was just a salesperson that was aggressively trying to sell different packages. They call it memberships because it's quote unquote not a timeshare, but technically it is a timeshare. And he was trying to actually sell that to me before we even got checked into our rooms. Like, really? We stayed at the Grand. Like, after I looked at different things, I wanted to have access to the restaurants. I wanted to have access to the water park. I wanted to have access to the speakeasy, also known as the library. And I just wanted to have that upgraded experience, the larger room, the larger space. And what I will say is, walking away from that experience, I feel like we could have stayed at Nazook and Sunrise. They had a lot of the same overlapping restaurants and cafes. And we could have very easily stayed at those places. I actually like the pools that were in Nazook and Sunrise better than the pools that we had over at the Grand, with the exception of the Grand pool was much more quiet. It was secluded. But I felt like if you have children and they were potentially making too much noise, that the people who were sitting around relaxing, feeling a little bit like Shady Pines, that they would not have necessarily appreciated all of the noise that the children were making, and possibly us adults, because it wasn't like we were the quietest people around. Another reason why I wanted to stay in the Grand is, like I said, because of the restaurants. And in all actuality, some of the restaurants that were in Sunrise and Nazook, the food was quite delicious, if not better than some of the restaurants that were over at the Grand. With the Grand and the way that they position it, with being this upper level, increased value, I think it caused people to want to rush to some of the restaurants. And don't get me wrong, like, they had a great steakhouse. They had the Lebanese food and other options that we took advantage of. But I got really good meals at the other restaurants that were available at Sunrise and Nazook. I remember going into it thinking to myself, like, they're going to have to get an upgrade pass and come over here with me and with us, because I paid the extra money so that I can experience the upper level of this resort. So I don't want to sit back and take too many for the team by going over to the other restaurants, because I paid to be here to take advantage of these restaurants. And then I'm so glad that I didn't stick to my guns and that I decided to go and try other restaurants that were available at the other sides of the resort, because they wound up being delicious and rounded out my overall experience. I cannot even begin to tell you how good the risotto and the braised short rib was at this Italian restaurant. Oh my goodness, it was just so delicious. When you go to the Moon Palace, it is beautiful. Like, I can't take anything away from the grounds. Everything was so pretty. It was very tropical. It was, for the most part, very clean. The resort and area that we were in, like our suite, was just beautiful. It was nicely sized. We had a very nice outdoor space as far as our balcony area that was outside of our suite. It was beautiful, but be prepared to do a lot of walking or a lot of waiting, because it took some time for the golf carts to come through. And in order to go from the Grand to the Sunrise and the Zook, we actually waited for buses sometimes because it was a great amount of distance. It's like several miles apart. Some people who are, into that, they can definitely, walk over to the different resorts. And of course, you know that if you stay in the Grand, or I shouldn't say I'm here telling you about it. So if you stay in the Grand, you have access to Nazook and to Sunrise. However, if you stay in Sunrise or Nazook, you can buy a day pass and go over to the Grand, which in hindsight, I would do that. Like, I would save money on what it was that I thought we were getting with the Grand, and I would just take that money and put it into going to the spa or being able to do other things with my money, because I can't say that I really walked away feeling like it was worth the upgrade. And that sucks. I mean, because that was a whole reason or experience as to why we upgraded in the first place. So one of the other things that I kind of wish that I knew before going was the fact that they have this amazing kids club. And I love going to a resort that offers a good, secure resort kids club area, so that I can kind of enjoy and indulge in relaxation, adult activities, or just, be in my own solitude and space. I did not feel comfortable with leaving my son at the kids club that was there because it's so open. There were a lot of adults. Like, if I'm on a cruise or if I go to a different place, you check your child into the kids club. Usually there's a level of security, the armbands, your name information. Sometimes you have to provide a secret code. There's so many different levels that some of these places go to in order to provide you with that safe security net for your children. And this place, I mean, it felt like Dave and Buster's. I wouldn't say Chuck E. Cheese, but it felt like Dave and Buster's or something like that. And you could be in there with your child, with me, which means that if you as an adult left your child in there, there would be other children, other adults, just too much access, too much coming and going, and not enough, I guess, adults that were around that were really looking after your children, in my opinion. So I just decided that I would be the adult that would hang out there with my child. And I stayed in there with him, and he enjoyed it. But for me, I was hoping to be able to drop him off so that we could, so that I could go and do some things on my own. So, you win some, you lose some. But I think I would have liked to have known that before I went, that this would not really be one of those kids clubs where you can just send them and do you. Would I go back? And now that some time has passed and I've kind of maybe gotten a little bit outside of my emotional reaction to some of the things, and now that expectations have been set and I've experienced it, I would go back, but I wouldn't go back and necessarily book the Grand. There's no need for me as a traveler with my son to book the most expensive portion of the resort, when I felt like the other sections were just as comparable, just as nice. And if you want to experience the restaurants and other things that are over there at the Grand, including the water park, which is only about a couple of hours at best of activities. It's a small water park. I would just pay the fee for the day pass for a child, which was about $50, and a day pass for an adult, which is $100. So I feel like the $150 versus, I'm going to say it was close to $1,000 difference to upgrade to go to the Grand. Who's doing that? Like that doesn't even make any sense to do that again after you've already experienced it. And I believe that a lot of my negative reaction to staying at the Grand had a lot to do with the fact that I paid so much more than everyone else did for this experience, only to walk away feeling like they had a grand time, they had a great time, they decided to buy the day pass and come over, and it worked out very well for them to do that. And for me, it was just kind of like, okay, my suite is, a few square footage bigger than theirs, and some of the amenities were a little nicer, but overall, I mean, I would have been better off staying at the Sunrise or in the Zoo. So that's what I'll do next time if I go back, when I go back. That's it. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to put them down in the comments, provide feedback, whatever it is that you feel as though you need to do. But thank you for supporting the channel. And hopefully I have provided you with enough information as a parent, as a mom who's traveling with your child, as to whether or not the Grand / Moon Palace Resort is good for you. Take care.